Rieny Cualoping, and this is the ENERI Access Series Asian Pacific American Heritage Month 2021 edition. And we are so lucky to have with us today Tatsu Aoki, who is one of the most prolific, talented major notes around. Major note as opposed to a minor note.
Tatsu Aoki is an award-winning, multi-talented musician, composer, filmmaker, educator, director, and producer. Please welcome Tatsu Aoki.
Thank you for having me. That was a too much introduction for what I do, but thank you very much for inviting me to talk about some of the things.
We go back a long way, Tatsu, right? Over 20 years. Over 20 years.
Right before we inaugurated the Asian American Jazz Festival, that would be like 1996, 1995, 1996.
That's right. We met through the Asian American Jazz Festival. I think that I had probably seen you perform before you invited me to be a part of that very exciting project. Right. And those were great days. And so much is going on, Tatsu. We could spend 20 years talking about your life, but let's just talk about It's Asian Heritage Month now, May, but it's May 2021. So I want to touch a little bit about what is going on now, what you see in the future for Asian Pacific Americans, and what are the things that you saw that came out of the pandemic. Let's start with now. What do you think about now, 2021?
Well, I think 2021, we just had to go through so many different things in our world, in the society. You know, there's a pandemic to begin with, and there was a human rights and, human rights movement and social injustice and, a systematic racism to hate crimes and everything. And now we're kind of dealing with all that stuff at once. I think 2021 I'm definitely looking forward to settling some of the things that we had to deal with. I am sure we can find a way to make a peaceful world. I could only do this through the arts as being an artist, but there are other people in the society also working on this purpose of having a peaceful world. So I'd like to take my role to produce things for the peace.
The pandemic has had a different effect on different people in different ways, some bad, some good. I, of course, have been following you and Asian Improv Asian Improv Midwest Arts for many, many years. I really, really think that you and the groups that you're affiliated with, the very talented other team members that you get to work with all the time, both here in Chicagoland and across the US and internationally, have made the pivot very, very well. I know that you've been involved not just in music, but in film, Taiko, visual presentations. Do you have a favorite among those, and how do you pick what to do at any time?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. I think a lot of people ask me about this. In my mind, it's sort of all the same to me, that the artistic expression changes its shape. Like the way you speak about something, you always change the tone of the speech and all that. So sometimes I feel the music is the best way to express my concept, or sometimes visually do that, or sometimes I would do this academically and bring in some, analysis and the theory to what I do. To me, I don't really that much differentiate between this medium, but I think a lot of people ask me about, so I don't have a favorite mediums, but I choose whatever at the time. It's all really what I can do. Irene, it's because I can only do few things in my life, so I just make a little selection of what I can do.
Tatsu, I think that your idea of a few is like other people's idea of many. Talked a little bit about rediscovering the art, both in pandemic and I think in general. I think right now we're still talking about 2020, 2021.
Our journey with the pandemics did, very interesting thing. One, I think we had to have a very rapid technological advancement for us to switch rapidly into this broadcasting and stream live. Of course, like everybody else, we started with one camera sitting in front of us and try to talk or try to perform. Then soon enough, we were producing a program with multiple cameras and casters in live streaming technicians. And so we had to learn that really, really quickly. And what we discovered is there are so many things we can do now with this streaming technology, or going back, we could have done this before, but we didn't. And I'm sure that's true to everybody else. So that's a big discovery for us in terms of this new telematic communication. It was a really, really, I would say, shocking discovery for us to say, wow, we could do this and we could do that. Even with my teaching, I think a lot of the professors thought that same thing. I think some of the subject matter, some of the things that we do are more effective on this telematic communication than the live lecturing. So that's something that
that's very interesting. That's very interesting because there's all this controversy here in Chicago about what's going on with the schools. Right. And I know a lot of people don't agree with that. But of course, you teach filmmaking at the Art Institute of Chicago. Why do you think it's somewhat better in some sense?
So some of the things I discovered is that when you teach technical stuff, or even aesthetic stuff, we put this little presentation on the Zoom first, so that we show them on the screen, so they have kind of like a pre-knowledge coming into this new thing. And it was better for me to be able to show it on the Zoom with the little circles and here close up of the machine.
If it was still 2019, or what would you have been showing instead? In that
we were doing this in live, so I would actually bring in the machine and show them the, then the students will actually touch the machine. Or even in my music teaching for the music training sessions with my musical student, it was in some things, it was very easy for me to actually Zoom record myself playing the instrument and analyze this thing and send it to my student. So the student will have a pre-knowledge of what they're about to learn for that day. So those things, I thought it was very effective.
What do you think about the state of Chicago right now in music and the music and the arts?
Music is kind of trying to recover itself from this pandemic thing that we've done way too many online presentations, and now I think we want to go back to live performance.
I can't wait.
As great as Zoom is and this telematic communication is, there's nothing like feeling a live performance and looking at the live, listening to live. So, we want to go back to it, and everybody is trying to go back to that.
I do want to commend you and your team, Tatsu, for that fantastic presentation for the Taiko Legacy in December. Can you talk a little bit about that? I watched it. I was just mesmerized. It's traditionally been at the Museum of Contemporary Art, and for many years, it's been an incredible program where you have all these big stars. It was a little bit different this year because of social distancing and people being able to fly in and not. But I know that you had, was it 6 film crew? Could you touch a little bit? I just thought there's no producer in Chicagoland who could have done that well during this.
I think my my little background in filmmaking kind of coincide with how to do this, because I just decided to see this Taiko drumming concert with a multiple camera angle. Then we actually had a whole 1 year of our training session to do the live streaming programs, right? So we had every month we had 2 or 3 different programs we put together as if we are out there doing the live shows if it wasn't pandemic. So we kind of exercise our technique to how to do this. And by the time we got to the end of the year, 2020 Taiko Legacy, my staff knew how to deal with multiple cameras, multiple broadcasting, with the sound, and so no audience. In the beginning of a pandemic, we started with, like everybody is one camera angle. Then we learned the process, sound wasn't right. And we go look at the other people, people like ESS, Experimental Sound Studio, had an excellent sound quality in their casting. And we learned about this, right? Then we met the broadcasting technicians. And so we had this whole year up to Taiko Legacy, about 2 or 3 programs per month that we put together a program. So there was a lot of learning curve, and we learned a lot.